Emergency podcast. Yes, even though the deadline has come and gone, the Marlins are still making moves and adding studs to their roster. Christian Pache claimed on waivers. What happens if Christian Pache is better than Jazz Chisholm Jr.? Would be a panty dropper. This is Locked On Marlins.
You are Locked On Marlins, your daily podcast on the Miami Marlins.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Greetings from England and welcome to Locked On Marlins. This is your daily Marlins pod. I am your host, Peter Pratt. Hit me up at Miami Marlins _ UK. Happy Friday, guys. If you listen to the pod version, hit subscribe and leave a review. This is your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Marlins your first listen of the day. There's a YouTube channel as well, guys. Hit subscribe over on the YouTube. It is also called Locked On Marlins. Join me in the comments and let me know your thoughts, particularly on Christian Pache being claimed on waivers. What role will he play? He has to be on the roster, so he is going to be on the active roster. Will he be on the active roster by the end of the season? Maybe, maybe not. Let me know your thoughts. Interested to get your take on this one. Former number 12 overall prospect, Christian Pache. It's fair to say his career hasn't quite gone the way he wanted, but maybe the Marlins are the organization to bring that untapped potential out. We'll wait and see. Nevertheless, it's Friday. It's the second time in a week. We're delighted to welcome back onto the show the UK GOAT, Sean Barrett. Sean, how are we doing, brother?
I'm doing well, Peter. As you said, second time on the podcast. This is August now that feels like an old school September where you've got these guys. Back in the day when the 40-man was chucked straight onto the Major League roster. Now, of course, we go from 26 to 28. So all these new faces, all these middling players that are just filling out rosters. This definitely does feel like an old school 40-man Major League roster.
I forgot about that. It's funny, just like, you know, holding back the years a little bit on that, get the old Simply Red in the mix. But like the old days, right, where anyone on the 40 could come up and play in September, right? And obviously they changed it. It got a bit out of hand, I think. Obviously, the rosters were too big. Maybe the benches were too small. I don't know. But, you know, they obviously made the changes. But in some ways, it's a bit of a shame. Like, you know, from a Marlins perspective, particularly when they've like got so many guys on the 40-man. So many guys. I mean, they got 40 guys on the 40-man. Well, they got 39 at the moment, but, you know, they've got a lot of guys that they'd like to see. That's the point I'm making there is, you know, and having this constriction down to 28, you know, it maybe limits, you know, it'd be great. I think from a Marlins fan base perspective, we'd love to just see everyone up. Like, you know, just cycling guys around a bit like spring training. It'd be fun. It'd be fun. I mean, I get why they made that change. It kind of does dilute maybe things a touch, particularly when you got teams not in the hunt versus teams in the hunt. You want to compete. You want to keep the competitive element to that. But yeah, nevertheless, should be a fun episode here. The Marlins have made two moves here. They have claimed both Christian Pache and John McMillon. Never heard of him before, but I did see his name mentioned on Twitter the day before, saying that this is who the Marlins should get, and they did. So whoever that was on Twitter, they nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. This episode, though, is brought to you by FanDuel. You can make every moment more. As playoffs wind down, the sports stop sporting like we want them to. But this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or bonus. Daily, that's right. Something for everyone. Every day. All summer long. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Sean, we're starting with the big news, in my opinion. It's one that's had the most traction on Twitter /X, whatever we may call it at this point. And the news that Christian Pache claimed by the Marlins. He's bounced around. He's been in some good organizations, Pache, as well. Obviously, he was a Braves prospect. Didn't quite work there. Was part of a trade. Over to the A's. Had a decent chunk of playing time with the A's. Then ends up with the Phillies. And then more recently was with the Orioles for a brief stint. Obviously, from an Orioles perspective, there's a lot of talent in that outfield. I mean, there's no passengers there. So available via waivers. The Marlins pick him up. Just the reaction, firstly, on the Marlins making this move. Obviously, they had Forrest Wall on the roster. They've got, you know, Victor Mesa Jr.'s just gone to the 60-day. Dane's pretty much done. Jazz is gone. Like, I guess it kind of makes sense considering the injuries and obviously the trades they've made as well, right, with Pache.
Yeah, with all the movement with the trades in particular, This is going to be a roster in flux, and with those available spaces, they can afford, because at this point of the year now, the results have never mattered, have they really? Let's be honest. But they can afford to speculate, and this is exactly what they're doing. Speculating on a guy, as you said, former high prospect with Atlanta, and has legitimately bounced about a bit. And I think the fact that he was available on waivers just shows you sort of where he is as far as value for the league. But he brings one good asset, and that is good centre field defense. So that's always going to track. Like a guy like that who's in his mid-20s, he's going to be there or thereabouts a major league roster for the next 5, 6, 7 years, just because that defense is there. Bat obviously it's not where it needs to be, but sometimes guys just take longer, and that might be the case. But as far as expectations and positivity, this is purely speculating and hoping rather than expecting.
Yeah. From a scale of 1 to 10, in terms of 10 being absolutely pumped for this move, where do you sit on this Pache move?
It's a 2 or 3, isn't it? The Marlins are hoping on a dead cat bounce, aren't they?
Do you prefer Pache taking playing time here or Forrest Wall? Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it really doesn't matter. It's an either-or situation. And to be fair, it is a case of like the Marlins can just keep rolling the dice on these guys for the next 2 months. This isn't they're not stuck with Pache in any sense of the word. He will be on the roster or with the organization for as long as the Marlins deem fit that they've seen enough of what he can do or could do in the future. But they're not going to tie their hands to this guy, and neither should they. But
no,
worth a look. Absolutely worth a look.
Absolutely. The defense is right. He's young. He's cheap. Former, overhyped prospect, in my opinion. Always been the case. I've never been. I mean, didn't make a ton of sense to me when you just looked at the profile. The stick was always a problem, and frankly, in baseball, if the stick's a problem, it's going to be a problem. As much as you can be a good glove, I mean, the game's changed. Like it's, you need the offense now, and it feels like it's an offense first kind of league, really, in many ways. So I must say, though, with Pache, the one thing that does stand out, and when they made the move, one thing that the highlight of his for me was against the Marlins last year, and when he was with the Phillies, he came in. H-vac was closing at that point. And there was a 2-run go-ahead shot that he delivered in Lone Depot, 2-run jack in the 9th inning. I think it was a pinch hit appearance as well, if I remember correctly. So Pache came in as a pinch hitter, I guess, righty on the lefty, and destroyed one from H-vac, a 2-run go-ahead. So that kind of sticks in my head. And I was thinking, I wonder how, what's his production been like? Career, he's only hit 6 home runs total, which completely caught me off guard. But actually with the Phils, though, Sean, this is the interesting part for me. Last year, role player, maybe platoon bat, whatever it might be, but he had an OPS plus of 99. A 99 one with the Phils. So, he did find his groove. Obviously, he couldn't replicate that in 24, seemingly, hence the Phils moved on. But that's been a brief stint, I guess, of activity there for Pache. So, this makes sense for the Marlins. Like, the defense is there. And if they can get anything out of the stick, then, what's to say he couldn't play a role going into next year either? I mean, the roster's in such flux at this point. We just don't know who's going to be on the roster. But the Marlins have got this guy for free. He's on league minimum. Who really cares how it plays out? But it's worth a punt. I think that's the point of this juncture, right? It's worth a punt. You've got a platoon partner for Nick Gordon, I guess. Looks like Nick Gordon's taking most of the time in center field, though, it seems, right?
Yeah, at the moment, it's a case of, the Marlins are going to play around with this outfield, and they're going to put people in places to succeed. And with Pache, you're right with the sense of, with the Phillies, it was very much a pinch hitting situation. Just over 119 plate appearances exactly in 53 games. So that's clearly a guy that's coming off the bench and getting the one at bat. No, the guy, as you said, the 99 WRC plus, good defense, slightly above minimum as far as a 0.2 WAR. Guy will take a walk, or at least double-digit walk percentage. So there's some sort of green shoots there for the Marlins. So yeah, it is a case of the more you look into the numbers and you delve in, look, when a guy's hitting 210 and 181 for his career, there's only so much excitement that you can have.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see what happens. Obviously, the proof will be in the pudding. We'll have to see some games, and if there are some golden sombreros going about, then maybe we'll have some maybe good thoughts.
Oh man! I mean, this Marlins outfield at this point. I mean, there's multiple sombrero candidates right now. I mean, we're going to talk about Stowers a bit later on. I mean, again, not the dunk on the dude clearly, but not the way he wanted to start his career. But from Pache's perspective, I mean, what I haven't done yet, and I've just done as we're on this pod, naturally you go and check out Savant, right? Like, what are the bubbles telling you? Like, where are their bright spots? I must say with Pache for 2024, there's actually 4 extreme red above average, like great bubbles in there. So that kind of caught me off guard, actually. And those 4 bubbles specifically, average exit velo, which is 92.3, hard hit percentage, 46%, chase percentage, 22. And like you mentioned there, Sean, the walk percentage, up. So doesn't chase, walks nicely, hard hit percentage is high, and the exit velo is high. So, and bat speed is middle of the road as well. Everything else, like in terms of the Savant bubbles, is, way, Tim Anderson territory in blue. Like it's not good. So it's a bit of a funky looking Savant profile, to be honest with you. But, there's some red shoots there with, he can hit the ball hard. He's not chasing everything. He does take a walk. So yeah, again, we've spent 12 minutes talking about Christian Pache, a waiver claim. I mean, that is Marlins August baseball in a nutshell there, right? I mean, wait till we do 18 minutes on John McMillon now. That's going to be a stunner. Interested to see what the roster move is, like where they go. I guess Forrest Wall could probably just be optioned back down. You'd expect that to be the case. While we've been on, I've got thinking about Nick Gordon as well. Just trying to think, okay, like Nick Gordon, he's been here all year. He hit a few home runs on a Sunday, but Nick Gordon, he's been pretty underwhelming, I think, this year, really, isn't he, Sean? Like, I know probably in center field, the stick doesn't look too bad, but he's primarily been in left. It's like a 75 OPS plus here for Nick Gordon. It's not been the campaign. I'm not convinced what the future looks like for Nick Gordon here with the Marlins, to be honest with you, and whether he could be a potential kind of DFA dude in the offseason, which a bit surprising considering he got the full, emergency podcast experience from Locked On Marlins. But yeah, he's been a little bit underwhelming. I haven't really spoken about him too much and slipped under the radar, I think. What about you?
Don't know how much value you should put into the emergency podcast for Locked On Marlins. It clearly is a low barrier. Look, Nick Gordon's one of those guys that when they came in at the beginning of the season, Marlins brought in quite a few of these sort of guys. And the one thing that I remember saying about these guys was they're going to get an opportunity. They're going to get some playing time. There's none of this, 100 plate appearances across a year, you're coming in as a pinch hitter. You're not really given a chance to succeed. Look, Nick Gordon's been given every single opportunity to play pretty much every day. And so far, the results just haven't shown, have they? The defense isn't particularly good, which is probably why he's no longer in centre field as much. And the bat just hasn't lit up. I think you're right. It is a case of, do the Marlins keep him on next year? I mean, maybe not. I mean, again, what are they planning to do next year, really? But ultimately, if he's given another 100, 150 plate appearances across this year, he's going to be at 400. And if he's shown nothing, the Marlins owe him nothing as far as keeping him there. And, we know that there's no power there. We know that there's not really much speed there. The defense hasn't really played well this year. And he's hitting 228. I mean, there's not really much there that goes, we definitely need to pencil him into the roster. So it's what you need to do when you're bringing guys like this. You need to give them time, need to see what they can do. And Gordon at this point has shown little to nothing.
The funny thing is, though, Sean, I could clip that monologue from you then, which was an excellent one, by the way. I could clip that. I could post it on on Twitter, wherever, YouTube Shorts. And without knowing the name of the player they were talking about, Marlins fans would be like, which of the Marlins roster is Sean talking about? I think that's kind of summed up, unfortunately, this tool bag of dudes that we've got right now. And like, it's a few spanners in there, I think it's fair to say. So, all right, let's hit the ads and then let's get into the other breaking news that John McMillon has been claimed. He does have minor league options though, so he doesn't have to be on the roster. But I did see a funky stat with him specifically that minimum 10 innings pitched, I think, was the filter on that. Minimum 10 innings pitched. He's currently got the league leading K per 9, maybe even like all time. I don't even know, but he's right up there. So we'll talk about John McMillon, what he can bring shortly. Plus, Valente Bellozo is going for the Marlins this evening. Not sure about that pronunciation. Max Meyer went yesterday. We'll talk about him. Equally, Connor Norby is down at AAA, making his debut for the Marlins this evening. And yes, it was talked about he's going to go down there and work on his defense, particularly his third base defense. He's starting today at second base, so we'll talk about that shortly. Before we do that, let's let you know about our good friends over at FanDuel. Yes, sir. And I love sports, as you know, particularly the Marlins, even in August. I love them so much. I never want them to stop. But as the playoffs wind down, we get fewer games. And the sports aren't sporting like I want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone, every day, all summer long. I'd highly recommend you get onto the Olympics tennis. No doubt. Get in there. Is Carlito going to do it again against Novak? Go and have a look. So head on over to FanDuel.com. Start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. And this episode is also brought to you by whose house? SupplyHouse. Yes, sir. And SupplyHouse, you can get supplies from the site that's made for the skilled trades, SupplyHouse.com. SupplyHouse.com is the reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products online. The easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands and get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. Need help with an order? No problem. Get expert support. An industry-leading service from the friendliest folks in the business and talk to a real person every single time. Pros in the skilled trades can get a competitive edge by joining SupplyHouse.com's free Trademaster program. Every Trademaster gets access to a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every single order. Join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from their free membership at SupplyHouse.com/TM and order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from anywhere with just a few clicks at SupplyHouse.com. Welcome back to Locked On Marlins. It's Friday. It's hot. It's hot here in the UK with me, Peter Pratt. And the UK GOAT, Sean Barrett, 2 UK studs, bringing you your Marlins coverage. Sean has been on twice this week, been absolutely killing it. So the Marlins have made some moves. Pache claimed. Let's flick over to the other stud that's been claimed. John McMillon. Very, very Scottish-sounding name or something there. John McMillon. I don't know. But Sean, what can you tell me about this guy, other than some extreme K per 9 numbers per, I think, Fish on First? But yeah, what are the Marlins seeing with this bad boy?
I just want to clarify those numbers quickly. It wasn't, when I talk about small sample sizes, it was 10 batters faced.
Oh, was it 10 batters faced? Oh man,
it was four innings last year. Last year as well, not this year. Last year, yes, he had an 18 K per 9.
There we go.
Yeah, this guy.
So you're telling me there's potential here? Then there's, extrapolate that out. You've got the best reliever in the history of the game.
If you extrapolate that, yes, but unfortunately, you take a look at his AAA numbers this year. They don't look so appealing. The K per 9 still not quite there, but it's still very good at over 10.
Okay.
The number sat right next to it, unfortunately, is a 7, and that's the walk per 9.
Oh, baby.
So this is a guy that if he was pitching well, you could say he's pitching effectively wild. Unfortunately, he's not pitching effectively wild. He's just pitching wild.
Oh, man. Tayron Guerrero 2.0 then. That's all. I just immediately think of Tayron Guerrero, mate.
I think that's a perfect guy to compare him to. look, this is another guy that you say, if he can control the walks and keep that K per 9, Marlins have experience with that. Who knows? It's more speculation. I think actually this is less speculation, and this is just a case of they need arms to throw innings. And this guy has an arm, and he will use that arm to throw innings.
Oh boy, I love this part of the season. It's just absolutely hysterical. Like, have you got a beating heart? Have you got an arm that can be used? And if so, you're on the roster. Let's go. So, this is where we're at. But you have to be honest though. Like this type of profile, there's upside. We're going to call it like that. There's upside. There's upside with Pache, honestly, and there's upside with McMillon. They've obviously both got their flaws. Pache is primarily can't hit. That's a bit of a problem. McMillon he is pitching like he's blindfolded, seemingly, or he doesn't know where it's going, and neither does the hitter. And so when it's in the zone, he's getting Ks. And when it's outside the zone, it's maybe leading to a lot of walks. So wild profile. I mean, boy, oh boy. I'm not sure I've ever seen such extreme K and walk per 9s in a single dude. Like, it's pretty wild. I mean, this guy he's going to be fun. He's probably my new favorite in the bullpen now. I mean, if the Marlins fix him, though, this is the interesting bit. Like, imagine if the Marlins can write this dude, heading to next year's deadline, boy, oh boy, here we go. He's only 26 as well, right? So, could be very interesting. How many? All right, he's only had a brief stint in the majors, too. Only those 4 innings pitched. That's it. So, yeah, let's see what we get. Let's see when we see him. And we probably will soon. He does have minor league options, so it doesn't have to be straight to the roster like Pache. Sean, let's keep it rolling here. Let's talk about Bellozo, who's back up and starting today. He's slotting into Trevor Rogers' spot. So I guess Bellozo, the opportunity, to your point earlier, like these trades, they create opportunity for guys, and Bellozo is going to be one of them. He, his first start in particular for the Marlins was impressive. The second one didn't quite go as well, but, again, another guy that, we'll see what's there, I guess, right? We'll see what he can do. But thus far, he hasn't, totally let the side down. I just get kind of like Dan Castano vibes with this dude. That's kind of like what I think of when I look and I'm watching Bellozo pitch. Very Dan Castano. So he could be a fan favorite. Who knows? What about you?
Yeah, he's one of those guys, isn't he, when you go into a season like Castano, where he's your 7th, 8th, 9th guy in the rotation, technically.
Yeah.
That goes down to AAA. No team pick him up because there's just this, he's got that control. But he did well, reasonably well in his 2 starts earlier this year. And it is a case of he's a guy that's going to be given an opportunity to eat some innings, and sometimes, those guys pan out and they give you a couple of months of decent play. Like Oshie Castano came out with the cowboy hat and all that. He had his he has his little sort of thing, but ultimately, again, it is a case of there's opportunities to be taken. He's interesting to me for one reason. Mm-hmm. He has a good changeup. Normally, the Marlins bring in people that have got a good fastball, good slider, or moderate fastball, moderate slider. And they need to improve their changeup because we know they can do that. Here's a guy that's already got a pretty decent changeup. This is his best pitch. So just an interesting little wrinkle to me personally.
Yeah. I watched his first start live and I enjoyed it. He was very into it as well. Like that was against the Royals and he was very, very into the game. And I think his family was all there. Everyone was pumped. Like naturally, he pitched well. I can't remember if it was a shutout for him. 5 innings, 2 hits, 2 Ks, no earned runs. There you go. And the Marlins lost it, 5-1. But nevertheless, Bellozo performed pretty well. Struggled a little bit more against the Red Sox next time around. But yeah, let's keep it rolling here. Speaking about guys that need to develop changeups, let's talk about Max Meyer shortly. But before we do that, I wanted to let you know about our good friends and new friends, of course, over at Liquid IV. And when you're taking in America's pastime, don't forget to hydrate with Liquid IV's popsicle firecracker flavor, a surefire hit. You can get hydrated with electrolytes, essential vitamins, and clinically tested nutrients from the #1 powdered hydration brand in America. Because baseball and summer go together like Liquid IV and indulgent hydration. Indulgent hydration. I love that, by the way. They've got tons of flavors, and you can blast off with the iconic summer flavor of Popsicle Firecracker, a festive blend of citrus-fueled lemon lime, tart cherry, and raspberry flavors. Plus, my favorite, they're all available on the website, but my favorite, Pina Colada. Let's go. No more thirsty summers when you indulge in hydration with Liquid IV. Get 20% off your first order of Liquid IV. You simply go to liquidiv.com and use the code MLB at checkout. That's 20% off your first order when you shop Better Hydration today using promo code MLB at liquidiv.com. Final segment here with me, Peter Pratt, and UK coach Sean Barrett. We've talked Pache, McMillon, Bellozo. We're on to Max Meyer. Facing the Braves yesterday. Wasn't quite the start he wanted, but he settled into the game, it seems. A few home runs, too many. But Max Meyer in general, Sean, where's your head at with Max Meyer? Obviously, he spent the majority of the season down at AAA, which was, in some ways to be expected, in some ways not. There's kind of pretty clearly a service time manipulation aspect to that. But just where's your head at with Max Meyer in terms of who he is as a pitcher at this point?
He's just such a quandary, isn't he? Because there's the stuff is there. Like, he's got some pretty decent stuff, but he just doesn't miss enough bats. And no. I think the one encouraging thing, despite the results in his start, was the 8 strikeouts. That's something that's a little bit more encouraging. There was talk about when he was down in the minors that he seemed a little bit uninfused. The fire wasn't there, and that he was just sort of going through the motions and waiting to get called back up.
Yeah.
And they had to tell him, like, no, we need to see the fire here so that we can see the results of what would happen if you get to the majors. Yeah. So I'm hoping personally that over the next 2 months we get, my starts pretty much every bump through the rotation. We see a bit of fire, we see a bit of swing and miss. Because right now, my current feeling about him, that all that enthusiasm we had when he first come up, and we were looking forward to him being the next ace that the Marlins would bring into the rotation, that's fizzled now.
Yeah, that's.
I agree. And look, the injuries, you can't fault him for the injury that happens. It's not his fault. But his reaction to it, everything I've heard, is just a little bit negative. So a bit of energy, a bit of excitement, to sort of just give us that kind of, everything we look at now is all with the eyes of next year. So that's what I'll be looking forward to in his starts. It's just a bit more energy. And see the old Max come back, because that got us infused and excited previously, and I'm hoping that will happen again.
Yeah, that's a really great call out, though, Sean. I did hear those rumors too. That, I mean, clearly he wouldn't have been happy about being demoted because he was tearing it up at the big league level. He just carved up the Braves last time around, and it was a very different Braves-looking lineup. And, I think that was always the plan. I think he knew that was the plan headed into the year, but the injuries occurred. He then got up to the big league level, and then naturally the letdown comes where it's like, actually, I'm going to send you back down. And, I think probably had his tail between his legs a touch for that and struggled to get up for it in some ways. And I get that for sure. And so I think it's been an interesting year for Max. I think, the first thing to say, the main thing is he's still healthy now. No setbacks, no injury ones. So we have to, take that as a major positive. At the same time, I'm a little bit like you, Sean, where I feel like there's just a little bit of fizz has kind of gone away a touch. And I feel like, maybe just he can settle in, get in the groove here a bit, and, we can see him, really kind of take the next step here. So, yeah, I'm expecting that. I'm expecting him to grow into this a little bit. And there's no reason not to, because you got to look around the rotation, and Max is going to be thinking, like, I'm the alpha dog here now. Like, you look around and go, I'm the ace. Max Meyer should be looking around and thinking that. I mean, there's no reason for not. I mean, Bellozo's in the rotation, Kyle Tyler's in there. Who else is in the rotation? Eddie Cabrera's going. I mean, Eddie's probably, he's had more service time, but, he's John McMillon, but a starter, basically, Eddie Cabrera. And, You know what I mean? Like Max should be feeling himself in that rotation and feel like ultra confident that like he's the guy. Speaking about confidence and maybe, you know, there's some fizz, but maybe a little bit too much fizz, I think, in Kyle Stowers. It's fair to say he's not had the start to his big league career with the Marlins that he was hoping for. Unfortunately, I think an 0-for-7 start to his career, including 6 Ks, and that included a sombrero on his debut. So not quite what he's been looking for. However, the one thing I've liked from a Marlins perspective here is he's back in the lineup today, Stowers. Like, there's no, okay, let's give him a mental rest. I think he looked a bit amped, it's fair to say, particularly his first game. He was very free swinging, very wild. The amount of swinging strikes was pretty discouraging, but we can understand why. So, you know, for Stowers, what have you seen? I mean, I know what you've seen, but where's your head at with this? Is this just like a young guy trying to make an impression and getting a little bit carried away early on, or is there deeper concerns you got at this point?
Yeah, as far as deeper concerns, it's a bit too early for that.
Yeah, agreed. Small sample size.
Well, yeah, not just that, but so we'll just ignore the stats, which is completely the opposite of my normal tack, and I'll go with what I saw from actually watching the game.
Yeah,
and look, we've got guys like X who puts on a very good quality at bat every single time, and you can see that it's not just the results. You can physically see a guy that knows strike zone. He's laying off the stuff that's away, and he's fouling off pitch after pitch with 2 strikes until he gets one that he can actually get a hold of. Stowers, again, early, and all the things that are going on in his head with the trade, the move. I think he'll get a pass from me for the rest of this season.
Yeah.
And we'll go into next year and hope for it. But he just looked like a guy that wasn't quite at the races.
No.
There was a couple of times where you could see the sort of like the check of the swing. He wanted to go but stopped himself on a pitch that was 3-4 inches off the plate. Like, what's he seeing? What's he seeing that makes him start to swing? That just has me a little bit concerned that maybe right now he's not where he needs to be. And ultimately that can hurt him because, as you said, he's not going to have a rest day. He's getting chucked back in the lineup. Like, the Marlins will have to be sensible with this. If he's 0-for-26 with 14 strikeouts, at a certain point, they're going to have to say, "Are we actually now damaging this kid's confidence?"
Yeah, it's Griffin Conine season then, if that's that's the case.
But it's all too early. The game that I saw was he'd literally just got to Miami, woke up early, chucked onto it because it was a 5 p.m. game here. It was an early afternoon game there. So while I watched it and had some negative thoughts about it, we're going to have to give this kid a break.
No doubt.
And see what, if we're into September and we're still seeing these issues, then I wouldn't quite pile into the kid, but I certainly will have more to say.
No doubt. I'm looking forward to that. Can someone else, by the way, for anyone listening to this that's in the media or in the Marlins organization, can someone put a microphone under Kyle Stowers' nose and ask him, does he enjoy red wine? I have to know the answer to that question because I can see a Kyle Stowers wine club kicking off, no doubt. There's some definite Jock Peterson vibes I keep getting from him. So let's get that one. Final one here, Sean. Connor Norby making his organizational debut this evening. I think the interesting bit, we obviously did the trade recap, and there was just so much. There's just, and I think Craig Mish kind of covered it today with the Fish on First guys. I think summed it up pretty well. They literally went for quantity over quality in the main. That was their approach, and they just acquired just tons across all different levels, and we'll see what happens. I think what stood out to me is that the feeling is that probably Connor Norby is the most likely to be a big leaguer, an effective big leaguer, I think, at this point. So very interesting for me that he was sent down to AAA. They talked about his defense, et cetera, et cetera. Want to see him maybe at third base, et cetera, et cetera. He makes his debut at second base. Maybe too early to read into something like that. But I'm going to, considering the way things have gone with Max Meyer this year, I'm just interested to see like how they play it with Norby, because, you know, it'd be interesting. You know, is it the fun and games again? Like, Norby would be disappointed. I think the Marlins fans as well. Like, it'd be nice to have a little boost here where Stowers is up and we're already talking about him. And like, it'd be good to see Norby as well. Like, you know, just some returns from these trades, get them up, get the fans enthused rather than send them down to AAA. We're going to work on your defense. And, you know, it sounds a little bit, you know, service time manipulation-y. Like, whenever I hear that, you know, a big league ready guy working on defense says to me, that's service time manipulation. And, you know, I know that makes business sense, but, you know, from a fan's perspective, I think we'd like to see a little bit more fizz, let's say, on that one. But what's your take on the whole situation here with Norby?
I think you're right with the idea that he probably is the best, especially the best backed.
Yeah.
The Marlins got at this deadline. Obviously, Ramirez, the catcher, if he's slightly lesser of a bat, but as a catcher, there's huge value there, obviously. But
Agreed.
The actual best physical bat at the plate is probably going to be Norby. The power, the speed. To a certain degree, 2022 and 2023 at AA and AAA, but the numbers are juicy. They're exciting. You know, power, speed, average, like, he takes a walk. He is as close to a 5-tool player as the Marlins will have had for a long time. If he materializes that into the major leagues. It would be nice to have 2 months of him. But more than likely, if we do see him this year, it's going to be in September. He's only had a cup of coffee, like 9 games, 32 places at the major leagues. Numbers aren't pretty, but who cares? It's a week of baseball. I'd be surprised if we do see him. Like, he's 24. Like, the Marlins are probably looking at it and going, right, well, we're going to have our 6 years of service time. Yeah, we're going to want it from 25 to 31, and that's job done, isn't it? As fans, it's a little bit disappointing, but we know who we're married to, don't we?
We do. We certainly do on both aspects in my world, for sure. Can I just say as well, like, if Connor Norby has made his way to the big league roster of the Baltimore Orioles, then I'm convinced he's going to be one of the best sticks on this current Marlins roster by some distance, because boy, oh boy, that Orioles offense lineup is dangerous, no doubt about it. So, yeah, we'll see what happens with Norby. I think the main standout, by the way, just very briefly, I know we're running long here, but, you know, the numbers were eye-popping, I would say. I mean, some of the guys have started pretty well. I did talk about this on the show, I think, when we spoke. Like, feels like Bendix needs a few of these guys to come in and hit the ground running. Like, the Arias one was a real, you know, a doff with, you know, the guys regressing a bit and obviously head hurt. So it'd be good to get some guys in and get it going. But Jared Cerner, boy, oh boy, he went into Pensacola and just went bananas, I think, in his debut. So, you know, this is what a Marlins fan's going to be like for the next 18 months. Everyone's going to be kind of very closely watching, like, you know, Pensacola and Jacksonville and, you know, Beloit, whatever it might be. You know, that's kind of what this becomes, for sure. But equally, I think they do need to sprinkle in a few of these guys into the big league roster. You know, Norby's on the 40-man. You know, so's the catcher as well. He's on the 40-man. So, you know, let's have a look. Like, why not at this point? You know, let's get them up. Maybe back end of August. I don't know. So I'm very interested to see how they play this. But I think it'd be a nice boost for the fans just to get a look at some of these guys. They're already on the 40-man. They've already had an option here used anyway because they're already currently optioned. And so there's not really much to lose other than like a month's worth of service time. And so, you know, let's see how slowly they play it. But yeah, even so, Sean, you're just, when you look at who was acquired and the prospects that are now in the system, which one of them's exciting you most at this point? Pitcher or stick, to be honest? Like, everyone that's been acquired, where's Sean Barrett going to? Like, what's this guy up to? Have you found a guy yet, or are you still a bit too early on that?
I think just the value of Ramirez at catcher is exciting to me. Like, every day I'm checking, is there UK friendly minor league game that I can catch? Yeah, I'm keeping, you know, I'm checking to see if any of these guys have had games And I think that's it, isn't it? It is a case of like, as Marlins fans, you have to find the fun. You have to find the excitement in this organization. They're not going to throw it at you. You've got to dig deep for it sometimes.
You got to find it.
And yeah, I mean, obviously, waking up tomorrow with Nori and seeing how he's done, that's going to be interesting to me. And yeah, maybe I'm taking the Kool-Aid of the Marlins organization yet again. But that's the life I've put myself into, haven't I?
No doubt. I will be very closely tracking Agustin Ramirez forever, no doubt, because he needs to be good. He needs to be good, particularly because of who he was traded for. So he needs to be good, and I will be closely monitoring that situation forever. So I hope he is, and I think hopefully we will see him, sooner rather than later. And I think Norby's up, Stowers is up, Ramirez is up, Xavier Edwards is going bananas. Pache's in center. I mean, it's a completely different look Marlins at this point. Clearly they can't do too much with the pitching. Like there's not, the studs aren't at that level yet. They're a little bit too far away. So there's not going to be like a surge of studs. But to that point around Max Meyer, like he's got to be looking around the rotation, the pitcher now going, it's time. I'm the captain. He's giving it the old. Look at me. I'm the captain now. Like he maybe is. And speaking of the captain, by the way, just to briefly mention Miguel Rojas, by the way, El Capitan, old captain, but now on the Dodgers. I did notice, of course, our good friend Danny Alvarez Montes talking about Miggy Rowe, tweeting about it, has reached 10 years of service time recently. So congrats to Miggy Rowe on 10 years of service time. Obviously, a huge part of that was with the Marlins. So congrats to him on that. Just wanted to tip my cap to Miggy Rowe. Water under the bridge on that one. And we wish him well. And hopefully he's back from the IL soon. And the Dodgers, will see what they can do in the postseason. Actually, Miggy Rowe, if you haven't looked, by the way, is having one hell of an offensive standout season. He's been on fire this year. I know he's hurt at the moment, but I think he was like hitting something crazy, nearly 300 at one point when I looked. So, Sean, you better fact check me on that. Is that true on Miggy Rowe?
He's having a very good year. It's 271 now.
270, yeah, there you go. Yeah,
3 home runs and 5 stolen bases, just to
there you go. OPS plus of 104.
Yeah,
104 OPS plus, mate.
He may end up having his best WAR season of his career at age 35.
Yeah,
and looking a little bit less athletic than he did in a Marlins jersey. But hey, look, when you're in your mid-30s, staying athletic is pretty difficult, as you well know, Pete.
Oh, you don't have to tell me that, mate, for sure. With that being said, that feels like the perfect time to end this episode on a lack of athleticism for the UK goats here. But Sean, appreciate you hopping on again. That was the last minute. But listen, when there's emergency pods, Sean Barrett always answers the call, no doubt about it. This may go down in history, this one, as an emergency pod. An all-timer, Christian Pache and John McMillon with the Marlins. Bellozo going this evening. Max Meyer, slow start yesterday, but settled in. Stowers continues to have a slow start, but the Marlins continue to throw him out there. I love to see that. Connor Norby getting his debut in AAA. We wait to see when we see him at the big league level, as well as Agustin Ramirez. Guys, I'm back tomorrow. On Saturday, yes, there's a Saturday pod, so look forward to that one. Also a guest on board for that one. One of my favorite guests as well, so looking forward to that. Danny Rodriguez. So Danny Rodriguez back in the mix, and his sources, he's always sourced up. Look forward to seeing you then.